For long-term success, the answer is yes. Cooper DeJean joining us to talk about the win as well from the Super Bowl. We also go inside the QB decisions that be made this offseason.
Plus, reviewing the script on Luka Doncic's debut for the Lakers and how LA secured a big man. Shams is standing by. But first, Kevin, they say to the victor go the spoils. Yeah, and also the poaching, because the Saints have hired Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore to be their next coach. Moore was just in New Orleans, helping Philly, of course, win the Super Bowl. He did leave with the team, but will return to make the move officially official. He was with the Eagles for 1 season. As we take a look here, the Saints team that he is now taking over, there's going to be a lot of change between now and the start of next season. New Orleans is currently $71.5 million over the cap. That is the worst in the NFL. They do hold the 9th pick in the draft, but at this point, that is essentially their offseason outlook. NFL insider Dan Graziano has much more with us now. Take us through the Saints' timeline to decide on Derek Carr's future with the team, another decision Moore will have to make.
It's a little more than a month, Derek Carr has $40 million coming his way this year if he's on the Saints. $10 million of that is guaranteed whether he's on the team or not. The remaining $30 million becomes guaranteed if he's still on the roster on the 3rd day of the league year. So that's March 14th, March 15th, depending how that's actually calculated. So the Saints have to decide on Derek Carr. Do they move on? He's got a cap hit of $50 million, dead money about the same if they were to cut him. So he's going to be expensive to have on the team, but he's also going to be expensive to cut. How good do they feel about Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler, who were the backups last year? Do they feel good about going forward with one of those guys, good enough to move on from Derek Carr? These are the decisions that confront a brand new head coach in Kellen Moore, and they're decisions that are going to have to be made quickly.
Yeah, certainly he's probably watching a lot of tape. Carr in 2 seasons with the Saints, 40 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions. Certainly he's not the only quarterback with some uncertainty swirling. So Dan, what's the latest? And start with Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold of the Vikings scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent. Now the Vikings are going through a lot of machinations in their building. What do we do with Sam Darnold? They have J.J. McCarthy coming, who was a top 10 draft pick last year. Do they move on from Sam Darnold? Do they franchise him with the intent of potentially trading him? Do they sign him thinking that maybe J.J. McCarthy might not be ready yet? A lot of decisions still to be made on Sam Darnold. The Vikings don't just want to let a 27-year-old quarterback who had 35 touchdown passes walk out the building and get nothing for him. The Rams and Matthew Stafford. It sounds like Stafford would like to return to L.A., but they have to work out the contract. He's scheduled to make $27 million this year, which is far too little for a starting quarterback of his caliber in today's NFL. Last year, they were able to get together and make an adjustment to the contract that made him happy and kept him there. They could do that again this year. If they don't, there will be teams interested in the 37-year-old Stafford. A lot of teams out there looking for quarterbacks this offseason. New York Giants are a team that has kind of poked around on him in the past, thinking he might be available. So might be a team to watch if and when Stafford shakes loose.
Yeah, in the meantime, you'll obviously keep us posted, or you could just look at Kelly Stafford's Instagram, because she seems to be trying to do as much hinting and innuendo as possible. Dan Graziano with the latest around the future of some of these quarterbacks. All right, Kevin?
The Super Bowl championship parade for the Eagles is scheduled for Friday. They're expecting over 1 million people on Broad Street. And later on SportsCenter, Eagles star Cooper DeJean, he can't wait for the parade. He joins us as things start to settle down from Sunday's win in New Orleans. As the Eagles here, they enter this offseason with just $3.7 million in cap space and several players looking for new deals, especially on the defensive end. The cap is expected to go up. Linebackers Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Zach Bond,
give him money.
Rusher Milton Williams. Yeah, you're not kidding. All free agents this summer. Tony and Mike with much more on the Eagles in our PTI bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon, are the Eagles built for long-term success?
Yeah, they're already having long-term success. I mean, just look what they've done in the last 7 or 8 seasons. Yes, they're built for it, Tony. And the thing that they do to sustain long-term success, there's one thing you have to do. And Howie Roseman, their GM, he does a lot of things. He signs well, Saquon Barkley. You know, they make good trades. He's done that, A.J. Brown. But mostly the Eagles, under his leadership, draft spectacularly. Just in recent drafts, Tony, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, Cam Jurgens, Devontae Smith. These are the pillars of a championship team, or at least a championship contender. So they're going to contend. Long-term success doesn't mean you win every year. It means you contend more often than not. The Eagles do. The answer is a definitive yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. They've already had long-term success. Other than Kansas City, nobody has been in the Super Bowl as many times in the last 8 years as the Eagles have. They've been there 3 times. They right now have the best offensive line in football. They have the best running back in football. They have a very solid quarterback who rarely makes terrible mistakes. And did you see what their defense did against Kansas City? So, I mean, of course there are other good teams. Detroit is a fine team, maybe every bit as good as the Eagles. But the Eagles in the last 3 regular seasons have won 14 games. Then they had a late collapse and only won 11, then won 14. That is long-term success.
Long-term.
There should be no doubt in anyone's mind. They've got it.
No doubt.
They've got it, yeah.
Now, let me just carry this one step further, since the absurdity is what all sports discussions move toward. That doesn't equal dynasty. So don't say dynasty.
No.
Don't say it. Don't think it.
No.
You got to win multiples before you get to even the conversation of dynasty.
So there are 3 words that we want to outlaw. We want to outlaw dynasty. We want to outlaw GOAT. And we want to outlaw culture. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Those 3.
I knew you were going there.
Okay?
Ali's the GOAT.
Stop.
That's it. He invented it. Greatest of all time. Otherwise, shut up. That's
now,
it.
get rid of legacy, too. Get rid of
We're
it.
done.
Get it out
Hate
of here.
legacy. Back to you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like Mike Tyson. What's a legacy? More NFL ahead. Where could Aaron Rodgers land after his bumpy ride with the Jets? We've got a surprising suggestion coming up.
And we're following a developing story in the NBA. Insider Shams Charania reporting that the Hornets have contacted the league disputing the Lakers' failed physical of Mark Williams that scuttled their trade. LA had acquired Williams to give new star Luka Doncic a vertical threat, but sent him back after the physical. And that feels like that's what's missing right now when you look at LeBron and the Lakers, especially after last night's performance here. NBA insider, and that is senior insider Shams Charania with us now. Shams, where do things stand with the Hornets' dispute here over Mark Williams' physical?
Kevin, the Hornets, from my understanding, they remain in contact with the league office, essentially questioning the validity of the Lakers' failed physical exam and weighing potential options where they can potentially appeal this situation. As I reported over the weekend, the Lakers failed Mark Williams on his physical. They found multiple issues, from what I'm told, not related to his back, however. And so the Hornets and Lakers, they're on opposite ends of where this issue stands. In the Hornets' eyes, Mark Williams is healthy. He has a long potential career ahead. And the Lakers clearly feel like they found a couple of issues in that physical exam. But in the meantime, Kevin, sources told me that the Lakers are waiving Christian Wood to sign Alex Len, 7-foot free agent center. That's going to give them some depth. They've been with just one center since this failed test and since the trade deadline last week. Just Jackson Hayes. Now Alex Len, he's in his 12th NBA season. He will join them on their front line.
And that's important. You just need size. You need some matchups. You need 6 fouls. You need somebody that can get rebounds. And Len trying to fill that in just a limited amount of minutes. We will see how that plays out. Now, you reported earlier today Brandon Ingram secured an extension with the Raptors. Why were they comfortable with that new deal after trading for Ingram?
Kevin, just under a week after they traded for him, 3 years, $120 million extension. He's 27 years old. He's going to hit potentially free agency again in 2027 before turning 30 years old. They view Brandon Ingram as a perfect fit next to Scotty Barnes, a playmaker, a scorer that can complement Barnes as well as Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett. They really feel like his best days are ahead. It's been an injury-riddled few seasons for Brandon Ingram in New Orleans. He wanted a fresh start from my understanding. He gets that in Toronto, and now they're going to try to continue to build around Scotty Barnes with the Raptors.
Okay, this season in only 18 games due to injury, Ingram averaging over 22 points per game, and injuries. No one's dealing with more of them right now than the Mavericks. Let's get some updates here right now with this team.
Kevin, Anthony Davis, the biggest of them all. The Mavericks will have a cautious rehab for AD, and I'm told the expectation is that Davis will need rehabilitation for the coming weeks. on that adductor injury. And just a brutal blow for the Mavericks because this is a player who just returned from an ab strain in his Mavericks debut over the weekend. And he looked absolutely dominant for the Mavericks before having this injury. On the other side last night, Daniel Gafford, their starting center, I'm told he had an MRI earlier today. The Mavericks are still waiting to see exactly the severity on that right knee. But he underwent testing earlier. They're hopeful because he walked without assistance post-game. They're hoping for the best for Daniel Gafford, but they're already without Anthony Davis. They're already without Dwight Powell. Already without Derek Lively II. And now Daniel Gafford, they're waiting to hear just how bad his right knee injury is.
That is a mash unit right now. Dallas back in action tomorrow night when they host Jimmy Butler and the Warriors, 9:30 Eastern, right here on ESPN. Shams with the latest.
Still to come on SportsCenter. Super Bowl spark plug Cooper DeJean joins the show with his insight on the Eagles' dominant win. Plus, examining the factors that are pushing QB prospects down NFL draft boards. And what Luka's debut with the Lakers reveals about LA's chances to win the West. SportsCenter continues next.
Grade the game because, it is the Utah Jazz. But, he's getting back in shape. He's ramping up. He's having fun. A lot of guys are smiling. And I've seen a lot of other guys get open looks because of his, gravitational pull. Him and LeBron are great at making plays and coming off pick and rolls and finding people. He gets to the paint, find shooters. If I'm a teammate, I'm happy. Jackson Hayes looked great, having a lot of fun, getting lob threats. Rui's getting corner threes. So if they continue to put that type of pressure on teams, a lot of guys will be open. All they do is execute. But, it's still early. It's a team that I can't really grade against, but it's a decent start.
Yeah, good start. Luka did say that he was nervous, and he hasn't been nervous in God knows how when before a game, but that he also appreciated that LeBron let him be announced last, and then added, but that will be the last time it will be LeBron from here on out. LA, by the way, set for another matchup with those Jazz tomorrow in Salt Lake at 9 Eastern. So, Danny, another guy that's made a pretty big impact with his new team is Jimmy Butler. Golden State now with 2 double-digit wins in the 2 games since he joined the Warriors. Where do you think he's making the biggest difference for them so far?
He's giving them a totally different look. He's getting to the free throw line. He's putting pressure on the defense. They're a perimeter-oriented team, so they shoot a lot of threes. He's getting some easier baskets for them. Mid-range, that's where he lives at, and at the free throw line. He's putting teams in foul trouble and giving Steph some different looks. He's more an aggressive Draymond version. He's a scoring threat in that pick and roll, so he can set the screen for Steph, get Steph another look and getting open, but rolling in and playing that quarterback position and finding guys, but also being able to score. So even when he doesn't have a great night shooting, he still is going to get you 20 points by getting to the free throw line.
Warriors currently 10th in the West, just a half game ahead of the Suns. Certainly they need every ounce of what Jimmy Butler has for them. Danny Green, we appreciate you. A reminder that our NBA Wednesday doubleheader begins with Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs facing off with Jason Tatum and the Celtics. That's at 7 Eastern. And then we've got the Warriors taking on Kyrie and the Mavs. NBA Countdown tips off our coverage at 6:30. Still getting used to saying Kyrie and the Mavs.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, the NFL season officially in the books. Time to look ahead to the draft in April in Green Bay. ESPN draft analyst Field Yates has Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter going #1 overall. The Titans, a Titans team that needs help at both wide receiver and corner. Hunter would be the highest drafted player in Colorado history if taken #1. Miami's Cam Ward projected to be the first quarterback off the board, going to the Giants with the 3rd pick overall. Ward ranked top 2 in the FBS and QBR, passing yards, and touchdowns last season. At #6, it's Travis Hunter's Colorado teammate Shedeur Sanders going to the Raiders. Vegas has already hired a new GM and head coach this offseason, Pete Carroll, and they could look to Sanders as their franchise quarterback, El.
Yeah, Kevo, here's some other notable names in the top 10. Field has Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter going to the Browns. That, of course, follows Myles Garrett, recent trade request. And then there are 2 Georgia players in the top 10. Edge rusher Mykel Williams going to the Jets, and my guy, linebacker Jalen Walker, to the Panthers.
And it's great to have draft analyst Field Yates join us now. Elle and I are not going to be like Mel Kiper. We're not going to yell at you or anything. But we
Are you crazy?
So we do have some questions.
It's allowed.
Especially at the top 2. Well, like the Titans and Browns, they both need quarterbacks. And when you look at your latest mock, you don't have quarterbacks going 1 and 2. Why?
Yeah, there's a two-man tier at the top of the draft for me, and it's Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I actually have that order reversed, but really it's close enough that you can make a case for either of them to be number one. And I don't think either the Browns or the Titans are in a position where they feel organizationally like they must take a quarterback this high in the draft. Tennessee with a new general manager in Mike Borgonzi and then a second-year head coach in Brian Callahan. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Browns, they have such a mess on their hands with the Deshaun Watson contract for the next 2 seasons. They might be saying to themselves, it doesn't matter. Myles Garrett wants to trade. Our quarterback's the biggest albatross contract in all of sports. We need to be thinking about every other need we have. There are a lot of them across that Cleveland roster.
That wasn't the only sort of head scratch for a little bit, right? Because the first quarterback you do have going off the board is former Miami quarterback Cam Ward, ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Explain yourself.
Yeah, I have Cam Ward as the highest graded quarterback right now, Elf, because I think that if things get messy for any of these quarterbacks, Cam Ward's got the best ability to answer whatever those messy things may be. He's the best second reaction quarterback that I saw in this year's draft class. He's got some magic to him. Miami could not play defense this year, and Cam Ward had some early game turnovers that put them into holes. He played great in the fourth quarter of a ton of games that it really should not have won, and eventually caught up with them against Syracuse late in the season. He led the FBS in passing touchdowns this past year. He's been at 3 different schools. He's elevated each of those programs very pro-ready with those 5 full seasons of playing college football, which is kind of in vogue right now for what happened with both Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, 5-year starters at the collegiate level who had great rookie seasons.
We joked on the mock draft show over on ESPN2 in the last hour that the Raiders at 6 are giving you the biggest high five.
Yeah.
Because you have Shedeur Sanders there at 6. Why is this the perfect fit in Vegas?
Yeah, well, they absolutely need a quarterback. That much is clear. And maybe they spin through the quarterback carousel at some point in the free agency market. Sam Darnold has already been linked to them via our guy Adam Schefter. But we know this much about the Raiders. They are desperate for a quarterback. Tom Brady, who's heavily involved in the operation there, and Shedeur Sanders have a relationship. They've talked about this. This is also the best pocket passing quarterback in the entire draft. With time and space, Shedeur Sanders puts the ball pretty much wherever he wants to. The big question for Shedeur at the next level, after taking more sacks than any other quarterback in the FBS last season, can you play urgently enough in the pocket? When things break down, can you have the discipline to either take a short sack and avoid those 12-yard sacks, or just throw the football away, live to see another down? The offensive line didn't help him. That's one of the big questions he'll have to answer, because if you go high in the draft, usually your offensive line, not good.
Not great. One other thing that doesn't need to be answered, though, will he have someone to throw to? Brock Bowers, a quarterback's best friend. Just ask Carson Beck. Field thanks.
Thank you.
I'm still bitter.
You're old.
Never going to get over it.
Petty. Coming up, fresh off the Eagles Super Bowl win, Cooper DeJean joining us, as well as Mike Quick on the call there. As the Eagles defense, they shut down the Chiefs to win Super Bowl 59. This defense flipped the switch this season after their Week 5 bye, which is also when rookie Cooper DeJean became their starting nickel corner. From Week 6 through the end of the regular season, the Eagles led the NFL in scoring defense, yards allowed per game, and takeaway rate. With that, one of the stars of Super Bowl 59, Eagles cornerback Cooper DeJean, joins us now on SportsCenter. Cooper, how would you describe your experience since winning the Super Bowl 2 days ago?
It's been crazy last couple days. Seeing all the fans in Philly. When we got back, at the airport, the support on social media, all the texts I'm getting, it's awesome. I'm just grateful to be a part of this organization, be a part of this city where football means everything. And I love it.
You just heard the call there from Merrill Reese after coming close a few times. You finally get your first career NFL interception in the Super Bowl, and the world is watching your return skills after you picked off Patrick Mahomes. Take us through the return. What was going through your mind?
I was just trying to find the fastest way to the end zone. Luckily, some of those big guys were out in front of me. Like, I got a couple blocks from them. I just snuck right in there. It was a crazy feeling. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to celebrate. I was just running around like a kid. It was an awesome moment. I finally got one, like you said, got one in the Super Bowl, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, great timing, especially celebrating your 22nd birthday. There were plenty of things you did that didn't really make the box score. You covered Travis Kelce one-on-one, trying to jam him up multiple times. What made Vic Fangio's defensive game plan work so well against Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think it's the way he calls the game. the way he calls the game. He understands, what we're good at as a defense, and we play a lot of zone, and we work well together as a defense, and that's a credit to him. And our defense works well together. Just preparing throughout the week, talking through things, and making sure we're ready for anything that's thrown at us in the game. And with those boys up front, we might have blitzed one time, the whole game, and those guys were getting pressure like crazy. It makes it easier on the guys in the back end when you got guys like that up front who can get pressure on the quarterback.
We ran a graphic there talking about the difference after that Week 5 bye. This team was 2-2 heading into the bye. A lot of question marks. Then you were named nickel corner. And then the Eagles went 16-1 after that. You didn't allow a touchdown in the regular season. It's not supposed to be this easy as a rookie here. What was the most challenging part of your first year in the NFL?
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of challenges. Just coming in off my injury in college, and learning a whole new defensive scheme, and getting hurt again in camp, and playing on special teams the first 4 weeks. Trying to learn and find my way. On this team, figure out what my role was going to be, and then I got the chance to start in week 6. And I just kept gaining confidence, each and every week. It's a credit to my teammates, the older guys who've helped us along. Our defensive backs coach, Coach Christian Parker, just helping us grow, and understand, we're young guys and we're going to make mistakes, and allowing us to make mistakes, but still having confidence in us to go out and